Bob was an ambitious engineer who had been working on a hydrogen-powered car for months. He knew that his invention had the potential to revolutionize the automotive industry, and he wanted to protect his work at all costs. However, he was misled into getting full drive encryption. And one day, while Bob was in a coffee shop working on his plans for his hydrogen-powered car, he forgot to lock the computer. He stepped away, and a competitor stole Bob's laptop and ran off with it. And since Bob was still logged into the computer, the competitor got access to all of Bob's secret docs, just sitting there, unencrypted. The competitor was thrilled to discover these plans, and immediately started to copy all of the files onto a flash drive. So how do we not end up as Bob? Well, instead of using full drive encryption, we can use a vault program that only encrypts the files we need. In this case, my go-to program is GoCrypt FS, which is, like I just said, a program that lets you only encrypt the files you need by mounting a special directory that's usually called private, and you just dump your files in there like it was, for example, like a USB stick. Not to mention the other benefits of GoCrypt FS include like a time limit, so after a certain amount of time, the drive will automatically unmount and re-encrypt after a certain amount of inactivity. Personally, I have mine set to 5 minutes, so I get in there, get whatever the heck I need, and I don't even have to worry about it because it'll just automatically re-encrypt after I'm done. So, what makes full disk encryption worse than GoCrypt FS? Well, first of all, is speed. Full disk encryption typically encrypts the entire disk, which this can be a lot slower than GoCrypt FS, which only encrypts specific files and only the directory that it uses. And then the other thing is granularity of encryption. GoCrypt FS allows for more granular control over which files and directories are encrypted. Like I mentioned in the last thing, full disk encryption encrypts everything on the disk. This includes parts that will slow down your system, like cache files, temporary files, and just literally anything else that just does not need to be encrypted. Another quick thing, I do have a few example scenarios where GoCrypt FS would be a lot more beneficial instead of full disk encryption. So the first thing I have listed is portability, because let's say you have to move like a bunch of data between multiple computers, or maybe you have a shit ton of different places you use different computers in. In my case, I go to like 5 different places that all have completely different computers, even operating systems. In this case, GoCrypt FS is better because not only is it, a lot easier in general to just move a vault program, it also just supports all the major operating systems, Linux, Windows, Mac OS, all that stuff. It just doesn't need to decrypt and re-encrypt an entire drive for it to work, And then the next thing here is selective encryption. With GoCrypt FS, you choose which files and directories to encrypt, allowing for more granular control over your data security. In contrast, full disk encryption typically encrypts everything on the drive, like I just mentioned. And then last thing I have written here, encryption key management. GoCrypt FS uses file system level encryption keys, which are separate from the system's disk encryption keys. This means if an attacker gains access to the disk encryption keys, they still cannot decrypt the data encrypted by GoCrypt FS. In contrast, full disk encryptions typically use a single key for everything, which could potentially be compromised. Are there any performance implications to consider when comparing full disk encryption and GoCrypt FS? Well, yes. With full disk encryption, it typically offers better performance for reading stuff because the entire drive is decrypted on startup. However, it can suffer from slower write operations due to the need for, encryption stuff to be set up on it. GoCrypt FS, on the other hand, encrypts data on a file-by-file basis, which can result in better write and even read performance, which I do want to get into a little bit because since it does a mount point, when you throw stuff in there, it doesn't encrypt it right away. It encrypts it when you decide to quote-unquote lock the vault. In this case, it's literally just a directory. But anyways, now the next thing is the differences in performance between full disk encryption and GoCrypt FS can be significant, especially for write-intensive tasks like video editing or gaming. GoCrypt FS is much better at handling personal data / application independent data like videos, pictures, documents, because it's its own little directory, whereas full disk encryption might be better if you're trying to encrypt entire programs, which I don't know why you'd want to do that. Anyways, on to the next point. So, what is the difference in levels of security versus full drive encryption and GoCrypt FS? And of course, which one is the better option? Well, first up, full drive encryption encrypts the entire disk, including empty space, temp files, log files, while GoCrypt FS only encrypts the files stored in the encrypted directory. This makes full drive encryption more secure against cold boot attacks and physical data recovery, especially for attacks that have, like, people have physical access to the drive. But this setting up full drive encryption does result in longer encryption times, slower write speeds, and larger performance overheads, especially with VRAM usage. Anyhow, in terms of security, full drive encryption is secure against the physical attacks like I just mentioned, and unauthorized access to the entire disk, while GoCrypt FS is more secure against hacks targeting specific files or user data. Now, in situations where security primarily concerns protecting the disk against physical theft or unauthorized access, full drive encryption is going to be more secure, especially in like desktop computers. However, in situations where security concerns include protecting individual files or user activity from unauthorized access, GoCrypt might be more suitable, especially for laptops where if you use full drive encryption on a laptop and you leave it logged in, somebody can just take your laptop, leave it on, and boom, they have whatever data is on that disk. Now, are there any potential drawbacks or limitations to using GoCrypt FS that might make it less attractive as an alternative to full disk encryption? Well, one thing is that you can't really encrypt full programs unless, like, maybe you're using like a portable program like on Windows. Now there's another thing. GoCrypt FS does require users to manage both encrypted and unencrypted things, which could add potential for user error. Like, let's say you thought you put it in the right directory, but you didn't. Of course, so in that case, you just have a skill issue. And then the next thing is complexity. GoCrypt FS is slightly more complex to set up, considering you have to install another application. And then you also need, at least for me on Linux, you have to set up like one folder for all the encrypted files to chill in. Whereas with full drive encryption, you just encrypt the entire drive, everything's encrypted. Now, speaking of data encryption, and not just encryption, but just data security and data privacy, what if your Windows is spying on you, you know? Have you ever thought of that? What if this proprietary software that I have installed on this magical rock with lightning in it is spying on me? What if they're using my internet to send telemetry back and forth to Microsoft? Well, funny enough, I got a video for you. It's called How to Make Your Computer/Laptop Faster. And one of the things is going through Windows and scraping out all of the telemetry, all of this, the bloatware and all this garbage out of your Windows installation. And it even has an advanced way to make your computer faster and more secure all at the same time, which I will link in the cards, or not the cards, or I'll just put on the screen, you know? Go watch it.